So we're basically in a time of witch burning. I mean, this is the closest example that I can think of that everybody would be able to recognize because people are acting highly irrational in a lot of areas due to this propaganda. And, again, it's not everybody, it's not the whole population. Just, in the US, for instance, it's typically along party lines. It's typically along, your what spectrum, what end of the spectrum you tend towards, which in this case would be again the left. That's what it looks like because in a lot of cities and in my city, they reimpose these mask mandates, and for a period, when they lifted it, people had taken them off, and it was like okay, maybe they came to their senses because the news was still pumping out the fear, yet people didn't wear them. But as soon as the local councils said mask mandate, they put them back on religiously, and almost like you know they're scared again, but they're not because if they were really scared, they would have had them on the whole time because the news never really stopped with the fear. So again, this is like obedience and compliance. This has nothing to do with literal actual fear, and that's what makes it so repulsive and abhorrent and disgusting, this aspect of human nature when you see these kids. I'll post a link to a video of a baby who's in daycare and he keeps taking off the mask. He can't breathe. It's uncomfortable. And the daycare provider, a so-called provider, who's really just a silly, psychotic, liberal dog who just obeys and swallows the puppy child from the fucking TV. She keeps forcing the mask on the child, on the baby. He's like a toddler. He's about 3 years old, whatever, 4, whatever. Very young, very disturbed. He's trying to pull it off because it's very uncomfortable, and she's forcing it, like pushing it on his face. It's child abuse, and these people are so religiously adamant about that. So they're a mob now. And again, not everybody. We see clearly which side is doing this. These people have been turned into a mob of psychos. They're just going around with these masks on religiously and adamantly, and they look at you like you're spreading the plague or something. But it's really not that. On the surface, they may say that, or they may even think that on the surface, but deep down, it's just obedience and compliance to the herd. You're not doing what the herd wants you to do. Stay in line, so they're trying to keep you in line. They're enforcing their tyranny, or they're enforcing tyranny on themselves and on each other. For what purpose? Who knows? Because again, it goes back to the fact that humans are, this is like an ant colony or whatever, any other insect colony. It's no different because, when you zoom out, it would seem that, we ask people to think for themselves. But if you think about it, people can't because they wouldn't survive. You can't have groups of people or individuals within a group all thinking on a different page. It just wouldn't work. So there has to be this uniformity of thought at some level. And that's what you see. So even though we're humans and we have like this spark where we're not just animals, we can think outside the box. That's usually not the case. And in times like these, we'll show you why that's not the case. Why people ultimately have to get into a sort of a uniformity of thought. It's just like gang mentality. You have to wear your colors. You have to do the signs. You have to be on code because what? Survival, end quote. We got to survive. But this is very disgusting. Like I said, it's like burning witches. Very irrational. I mean, they basically accomplished 2 things last year. 2 big lies that are so easy to see through, it makes you wonder what the fuck is wrong with these people. The first lie, of course, is that healthy people spread deadly particles, even though they don't know they carry these deadly particles. But again, these particles are deadly, but normal functioning people carry them. I would say healthy, but technically these people aren't healthy, if you want to be technical. But just normal functioning, healthy in quotes, functioning people walking around normal. They're passing around deadly particles, but they just don't know it. That's like saying, well, you got shot in the heart, but you don't know it. But of course, he got shot in the heart. He had to be rushed to the hospital for trauma care. But so you should wear a vest, which would make more sense. I mean, we're in America. There's like high gun ownership. Shouldn't everybody be wearing a bulletproof vest? Because, everybody has guns and there's bullets and you even have cops shooting people. So shouldn't everybody just wear a vest just to be safe? That would make way more sense than wearing a mask for these so-called deadly particles. So they convince people, the first lie, that healthy people walk around passing around deadly particles through the air by breathing in normal environments. And of course, if that was the case, then people wouldn't exist. Nothing would exist if the world was designed in such a manner to where you would be passing around deadly substances without knowing. Naturally you're given a clue. It would be like if you smell gas, or if you're in a house, somebody left the stove on, what's that smell? It gives you hints. If you're in a dangerous environment where you should, cover your mouth, or, they're painting a house, or somebody's doing saw work, a lot of sawdust. Well, of course you want to put one of those N95 masks on, because you don't want to breathe in sawdust. But this imperceptible, you can't taste it, smell it, see it, touch it. This is a religion. And so since we're in the West, of course, we could use the example of the medieval times, because that's what this is. You have these priest scientists, these priest doctors, they're putting people under this spell of demon particles, and you have to be exorcised only by the priest doctors at Big Pharma, because only they can see the particles and only they can remove the particles. It's the same thing. This is where we're at. We're in this is insanity and irrationality. So nothing really evolved. The only thing evolved was the technology and the techniques, the math, the science, and things like that. But those are specialties, and those are for a minority of technicians and technical experts. The masses haven't evolved 1%. They're still immature, childish. They believe anything. It's like Adam Weishaupt said, "Oh, foolish man, what can you be made not to believe?" Which basically is, we can tell you anything, especially from a child up. So now I see children here, they put their mask on religiously. Their parents, their dog parents, have trained them to wear a fucking mask in a normal environment for no reason whatsoever. So now they're going to grow up with this superstition, and nobody's going to debunk it because the parents are ignorant, and the propagandists are never going to stop with the propaganda. So this will go on indefinitely in certain mindsets, again, on a certain end of the political spectrum or the social political spectrum. So that's the first lie. And then the second lie, of course, would be that there's a new disease in the world. There's a new disease called Convid. What are the symptoms? I don't know, shortness of breath, fever, cough. It sounds like a cold flu to me. But no, it's a new type of cough. So they've convinced people that there's a new disease with the same symptoms that have always been experienced for people since time immemorial. And people believe this shit because the priest doctor said it. This is how worship and just the servility, this is where it gets you. To where I can tell you the sky is basically purple now. No, that's purple now. I know it looks blue, but it's purple now. It's on fire. And you'll just accept it. A lot of people are just accepting that there's a new disease called COVID. But they can't tell you what the difference is between this COVID and cold flu or pneumonia. Because there is no difference, because all they did was rebrand it as a new disease. A new disease based on a fraudulent PCR test, which is really a manufacturing process. And this is what the inventor said it was. It's not a diagnostic tool. It's a manufacturing process, which means you can, amplify or magnify anything. Like you said, you can blow anything up or see anything you would like to see. And it's been shown that really it's detecting a certain so-called genetic marker that's in most people, or even genetic debris that appears, at any given time. It's a coin toss, basically. It's fraudulent, and even the FDA now has basically unauthorized it officially. They released a statement saying we can't use this test, the PCR test, but so it's officially unauthorized December 2021. So they're still using this shit, even though it's been unauthorized. Nobody said anything about it, and they're still doing it. And of course, most people don't know. They have no clue, because they're not even interested that much in it to look in that deep into it. They're not that convicted about what's going on right now. They just put their mask on, or when they have to. You just see people, they just have it ready. Before they walk in the store, just have it ready. Just slap it right on. They don't have to breathe. Fuck it. Who cares? It's just a mask. So this is, it's really pathetic. And they've also convinced people that, breathing freely could be dangerous. Breathing in normal environments, or breathing makes us sick. We make each other sick by breathing. This is so primitive and stupid. And you see a lot of people, they actually enjoy it. They feel like they have something to fight against with their stupid little mask on. So this is very retarded, to actually believe this for 18 months without question. They're hallucinating that there's special people who figured this out, even though I don't see any footage of any old people being pulled out of their homes. I don't see any backyard burials. I don't see any overpacked hospitals. These people still adhere to this notion that there's a pandemic. It's the same as me saying, we're standing outside and me saying the sky's on fire. Both looking at it, it's blue, it's just a normal sky. Maybe some chemtrails in that motherfucker, but it's basically a normal sky. But they're saying the sky is on fire, and these people are telling you the sky is on fire. You're saying no, look at it, it's not on fire. Like, this is the same exact thing. You cannot say there's a pandemic if there's not a pandemic. So you literally have these immature people who basically have agreed to forget what a pandemic is or whatever the fuck is wrong with them. Because a pandemic is mass of sickness and death. It's noticeable. You don't need a TV to know if you're in a mass of sickness and death. And usually that will be caused by sanitation, poor sanitation, like the Black Plague or whatever with all the rats and stuff. I got to, that's hygiene. It's not a particle. So there's never a pandemic of a particle being passed around anyway. But even if that was real, we would know. There would be footage everywhere. We have footage of dogs playing the fucking piano. You got tigers riding bicycles. But you can't show me not 20 seconds of an actual pandemic going on in 2021. You can't show me one clip, and I know you can't. Footage of hypochondriac people with plastic on, with swabs, and that's not a pandemic. That's just playing theater and superstition. So all these images they show you on the news with these nurses and everything, and these doctors or whatever in the hospital with masks and plastic apparatus and these plastic caps and plastic visors, that's not proof of a pandemic. That's proof of ignorance and superstition coming from your medical authorities. So that's just the priest doctors and the priest scientists telling you that there's deadly particles that you just don't know. So you got to just be wary everywhere. Yet they don't have this thing in possession, because if you do a freedom of information request, or a FOIA or whatever, so Freedom of Information Act, these agencies have been solicited for this particle, and none have come up with this particle. I'll put a link to that site. Virtually every agency around the world, the Western world, even other countries, none. They don't have this particle in possession. They say, you know what? We don't have the SARS-CoV-2 particle. We don't know where it's at. We can't find it. Yet everybody needs to wear a mask because it's everywhere. You couldn't get it off of one of those swabs. I mean, they do millions of swabs, a day or whatever, a month. And yet you don't have this particle because it doesn't exist. But that's too much for a lot of people. When you say it doesn't exist, that's blasphemous, because you're living under the same as people have always lived under: superstition. The priest doctors, the priest scientists of Western civilization, just as they've been doing with this fake space, fake globe crap, they're doing it with the medical issue, because, again, people don't understand their bodies. And like I said, it's because you don't own the body. You're not the body. You're really a slave to it. You don't understand it. You're really scared of it. Most people, if I cut open a body, or if we cut open a body in front of people, they get horrified. You get disturbed. You don't want to see it. You're scared of it. You don't want to understand it, and they think there's special people who know everything about it, but they don't. It's all, even they call it a medical practice. So it's all theory and superstition. None of it has any basis in reality, and people can't wrap their minds around it. So, it's kind of a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people that all of this is a lie. I got people around me, they just can't accept it. They'll accept a part of it. You got people who, well, it's real, it's just overblown. It's like, what is it? It what? What, loss of taste and smell? It's like, how the fuck did a deadly virus that causes you to suffocate, drop dead in the street, turn into the loss of taste and smell? And so when you tell these people, well, there's nothing going around. Yes, it is. I know, because I lost my taste and smell. It never happened before. Now, mind you, everyone's experienced that before with the flu. So again, this is real interesting how you get into this this servile mind, like this intellectually servile mind, because these same people know damn well they've experienced this before, but yet they're acting like they never experienced it before now. Why? It's like they're trying to validate the claims of their masters. Like, you got to watch out for people. People are dangerous. Like they say, this mob psychology, this shit is dangerous. They're literally trying to convince themselves it's real now, because it's not. They have no evident proof, so they go into their minds and say, no, I know somebody who lost taste and smell, or I lost taste and smell. But So what? We should wear a mask. So we should prevent or restrict our breathing, through the nose and the mouth in order to prevent the loss of taste and smell. Think about that. So this is how fucking absurd this is. This is how absurd people are, people can be. And so, like I said, even though it's not everybody, it's a perfect example of this mass hysteria. It is at least half of the country, probably more than half of the country. I say there's probably a good 20% of people don't give a fuck about any of this shit, or just don't mind any of this. There's a good 80% of people, or there's a good at least 50% of people that are stone cold believers, and probably another 30% that believe it, but they just don't believe in going this hard about it. So they've been able to put a pretty good psychological operation down on people this past 18 months. You got to give them credit, but then again, you don't. Because you just see how just people are just willfully ignorant about this. I mean, I've never experienced a time when I was unable to digest new information. If somebody presents me with new information, I'm willing to look at it and let it swirl around, think about it at least. I'm not going to just push you off and call you a heathen or a heretic, because that's what basically you're called here. Because, again, this is a religion. This has no basis in reality whatsoever. So, you have a lot of people who they just can't see through it. Even the people who are trying to fight it, they have people caught in this paradigm of, well, it's real, so now you have this, I have natural immunity. What about my natural immunity to it? But none of it exists. And the immune system is not even a realistic concept. There's nothing to be immune from. I mean, it's like a cleanup system, more likely. That's more, aptly put. It's a cleanup system. It's not immune. It's not like these demon particles like attacking. Like they keep showing these images of a human body with these green viral particles, these spiked green viral particles around it, and this is supposed to arouse some type of fear in you. But that's not reality. That's not how you get sick. And again, people don't know how to get sick because they don't want to know, because they're the ones doing it. You do it with the fork and the spoon. You got to think, what are the odds? Is it something that you can't see, taste, touch, smell, or even detect that makes you sick? Or are those solid substances that you drink and eat every day? What do you think is more likely to contribute to your illness, which is really the body purging itself of all this excess waste? Because it doesn't break down. I mean, it just sits in the body. See, the thing is, you can't see it. We can't see our inside, so it's like out of sight, out of mind. And so you got to be humble and slightly above average to admit that and go deep into that fact that, no, we make ourselves sick with common illnesses that are, usually experienced by most people. I'm talking about cold, flus, early onset of heart disease, diabetes, even cancer for a lot of cases, even though a lot of that too was heightened when they started pushing these jabs and then these city environments and all these chemicals and stuff. So, but again, those are substances, those are things that we are familiar with. But this hypothetical particle jumping in and out of somebody, it's not a reality. These things are not alive. There's no such thing as because we call it a bug, like they say the flu bug, but even that, that's not true. It's not a bug. It's not alive. Like I said, these endogenously generated, you can call them particles, but these cellular debris, all these particulates, they just come out from the inside of the tissues in the blood, but they're not self-existent things that float around through the air and have arisen from the primordial soup to attack and kill. It just doesn't work that way. So they're implicating and they're superimposing superstitions on things that they can see under microscopes, but again, that's not real. But that's enough for the common person to be persuaded. All you got to see is one of these American Journal of Medicine, these official publications, and all you see is all these big words and microscope and cell slides. It up must be true. Fuck it, I'm not reading it. Who am I? I can't debate them. So it's intellectually intimidating. So it looks like they know the truth, but it's just sophisticated bullshit. And that's just like astronomy. You're telling me all that's a lie? Yep, all of it's fake. None of it's real. Alpha Centauri, trillions of miles away, fake. So your whole astronomy book in college or whatever It's false. And who writes it? The pre-scientists. You know, those guys you see in those little black hats. Or that's what they spend their time doing, hypnotizing people by means of sophisticated bullshit. So they've done it again. And again, even people who want to fight this narrative, you still believe in its reality. You still give them the credit. A liar is a liar. They're not partial liars. They're 110% liars. It's not, oh, it's real, but they're lying to us about the vaccine and it's not working. And like, it is working. I'll link you to a site that shows you that it's working. I mean, this thing is doing its work, just not what you're talking about. Fighting off some particles. That's not the purpose of it. It's doing its purpose. So they have these false counter arguments that they program you to say or to rebuttal with. And they got everybody. Everybody's in this mind trap, in this paradigm. So, and of course, at the base of it, again, is medicine and health, which, you know, very few people even give a fuck about. You know, years before this or right before this or whatever, I would go around people, you know, people know that I, you know, drink a lot of smoothies and stuff like that. Like, oh, you're into that health stuff. I'm into that health stuff, you know. But come around 2020, 2021, and all of a sudden, somebody told you to be in the health stuff. You're in the health stuff. And now your health stuff is a mask. And now you're cussing me out because you want to be healthy. 3 years ago, you weren't into this health stuff. So again, you know, people are dangerous. You got to watch them. And under the power of authorities, people are very dangerous. You know, these same people, you know, you try to tell them something. If I would try to tell you something, you would tell me, oh, I'm an adult. You can't tell me what to do. I'm a grown man. But then this little gnome fucker, criminal, pharma cartel criminal gets on stage and says, asymptomatic transmission. You need to wear a mask. Okay, how many should I wear? 1 or 2? When? It's like, what? I thought nobody could tell you what to do. I thought you was a grown adult. See, full of shit, bullshit, the mob. So, you know, we got to watch out for these people. And this is not the only time, you know, this is always an undercurrent with religion. This same mentality. We're just seeing it now on a so-called science level or a medical level. It's exaggerated. But again, this is the same thing with the religion. Jesus, I know he's real. He saved me. Come to Jesus. I had people, they won't give up on me, trying to get me to come, or just trying to get me to believe in Jesus. And I'm trying to explain, well, that's not what it means. And, well, it means this. And all you have to do is, or you should do, or believe this way, or he was trying to get you to see this way. No, keep coming to Jesus like it's a real man. They're hallucinating. So this is nothing new. So, you know, we shouldn't be surprised ultimately. And, you know, this is a very enlightening period in regards to the nature of humanity that, you know, basically it's mentioned in one of these texts I read, but they were saying how humanity is a mass of dung. Peace.